Fain joins us now to talk about one of your biggest financial assets, your home, and what makes sense. So give us your perspective on the outlook of the housing market. We hear kind of some different things.
Right. Well, it's definitely bad out there. I think homeowners are in despair because it's taken them a whole lot longer than they expected to sell their home. You know, generally in major markets around the country, we're hearing that prices are down about 20% over where they were about a year ago. In the Knoxville market, I mean, I'm just hearing, I haven't seen actual reports, but hearing people say, you know, I've dropped my price 10%, and they're still not, their house isn't moving still, so it's painful out there.
And I've heard, like you mentioned, that the biggest problem is that it stays on the market so much longer. I mean...
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately, Brittany, when you look forward, this isn't one of those brief downturns that quickly recovers and everyone's back selling their homes maybe where prices were 2 years ago. Unfortunately, I just don't think that's where this is. We talked before on Sunday mornings, this housing decline kind of brought us into this economic crisis, and it's going to be a part of the formula to lead us out. And we're probably still a year or so away from this starting to solidify and form a base and improve.
So you don't see things getting better in the spring? Because some of the folks in the housing industry have said they're seeing a turnaround, but you don't feel like it's coming as quickly?
Well, I think spring always brings renewal and hope, right? So if there's going to be a stronger market, I think spring is the time that we're going to see it.
So what about folks who are trying to do that right now? What are your tips for
Well,
that?
I think there's a couple of things that we can do. You know, the first is if your circumstances dictate that you need to sell, there's no point now in just waiting, because you might be waiting another year or so, as we just said. So, you know, one of the first things I think you can do is get it on the market. Go ahead and get it out there. You know, anytime you're about to sell, and again, spring is as good a time of season as any to get on the market, you know, you always tell somebody to fix it up. I wouldn't go out and spend major money on a home, but, you know, definitely get everything in good repair. If you need to, do a little paint job. Price it right. I mean, this is the hard part. I think we have to separate our emotions from our ego tied up in our home. And, you know, this is treated as a business, and that's what it's going to take. Home prices are down. It's hard to price that in, but you need to go in there and price it in the current market. If home prices are down 20%, you might need to start off with yours at 25% to get something moving. Go out and get a top real estate agent. So a person might say, well, how do I know who's the top? Call their office, because if you can probably dig around with a few questions and someone will say, well, John or Judy is our top seller. That might be the person you want, an aggressive person, a person that's going to maybe think outside the box. And then finally, kind of back to pricing things into today's reality, is if you get an offer from a qualified buyer, take the offer. Don't quibble over a few, $100, maybe even don't quibble over a few thousand. Take the offer and go, especially if you need to sell your home.
All right. Thanks so much for all of the advice, Paul. We
appreciate it.
Good to see you. Good to see you, too.